the meeting of the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District Board of Managers, February 25, 2021. Reminder that we are meeting electronically pursuant to Minnesota Statutes 13Z.021, determining that the pandemic means it is not prudent or feasible to meet in person or have people into our normal meeting room. All meetings will be taken, all votes and attendance will be taken by roll call. And we are meeting in terms of all the other terms of the open meeting law as well. Do we have any members of the public with us? We don't, other than Mr. Maluchnik. Okay. Then the next item is approval of the agenda. Note that we're adding 11.2, which is the assignment to Stantec that is in the board packet, not on this printed agenda I have in front of me. So with that addition, is there a motion to, I apologize, I jumped ahead. Roll call, my bad. Let's see here. Always professional, that's what I am, Randy. Okay, attendance. Manager Miller?
Here.
Manager Olson?
Here.
Manager White is here. Manager Rognus? Manager Loftus?
Here.
Manager Hitchmati?
Here.
Manager Maxwell?
Here.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Move approval.
Manager Miller moves and
Second,
Manager Maxwell seconds. All right, then for approving the agenda, Manager Hitchmati?
Aye.
Manager Miller?
Aye.
Manager Rognus? Manager Loftus?
Aye.
Manager White, aye. Manager Olson?
Aye.
Manager Maxwell?
Aye.
Agenda is approved. On the consent agenda, we have approval of the February 11 minutes and approval of the check registers for the general checking account, surety checking account, and wire transfers. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move approval.
I heard Manager Miller. Is there a second?
Hitchmati, second.
Thank you, Manager Hitchmati. Voting now on the consent agenda, Manager Maxwell,
Aye.
Manager Olson.
Aye.
Manager White votes aye. Manager Loftus,
Aye.
Manager Rognus, Manager Miller,
Aye.
Manager Hitchmati.
Aye.
Thank you. I have not had any meetings in the last 2 weeks, so I don't have a report for this evening. I'll turn to Manager Olson for the CAC report.
Thank you. The CAC got together this past week and we had a very lively discussion as well as breakout sessions really to understand what it is that we would like the CAC to do. The state law requires us to have a CAC that would meet at minimum of once a year and go over our budget. With the talent that we have on our CAC, that would be a huge loss of an opportunity for us. So, and that team has always done a significant amount of work to help out the watershed. So what we've done is we've brought everybody together and we talked about the flexibility that they have. We talked about their diversity of their backgrounds. We talked about the fact that they are living in the community itself that we're doing our work in, and that they can have a very powerful role in terms of a lot of the projects that we're working on and some of the policies and the ability for us to communicate to the citizens in the area. And with climate change and resilience and all the other challenges that we have facing us, having that broad perspective can help us get a much better picture of what the society and what our constituents are thinking and feeling that they need. So with all that, we've decided to take the comments that they've made and we're going to be assembling them into a report, and hopefully we'll go on to the next step and start defining what those roles are going to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Manager Olson. Appreciate it. You'll see that the upcoming meeting and the event schedule is in the agenda, noting that on March 3rd, the CAC meets with Manager Maxwell as liaison, and that we have committee and board meetings on March 11 and March 25. Then our next order of business is recognition of Commissioner Randy Maluchnik. And I will read the resolution that we have adopted. Then we'll let managers speak. And I think we'll let Mr. Whisker speak too. So this is the resolution. And I'm so glad you could be here with us tonight, Mr. Maluchnik. The title is Expressing Appreciation for the Service of Carver County Commissioner Randy Maluchnik. Whereas Carver County Commissioner Randy Maluchnik was first elected in 2007 as Commissioner for District 3, covering portions of the 6 Mile Creek Halsted Bay subwatershed, and has served as a liaison between Carver County and the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District. Whereas during his tenure as a liaison to the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District, Commissioner Maluchnik has been an ardent advocate and supporter of the district's work in Carver County, encouraging and facilitating open communication of the district's mission, approach, and priorities to the county board and constituents, working alongside MCWD to convene partners and landowners to navigate solutions to complex issues, such as high water, helped integrate and streamline aquatic invasive species programs to deliver value and reduce overlap, and consistently served as a thoughtful and critical thinking partner, always willing to offer wise counsel to the district. Whereas Commissioner Maluchnik championed the development of the 2017 6 Mile Creek Halsted Bay Plan and a master financing agreement between Carver County and MCWD to support capital project implementation, which has catalyzed a suite of coordinated investments that ensure the sustainable and vibrant growth of Carver County, underpinned by a healthy natural environment. And whereas these efforts have resulted in significant water quality and ecological benefits while contributing to the livability and character of Carver County, including the implementation of the state's largest common carp management program, which has reduced carp below target populations in 6 lakes, significant water quality improvements to Wasserman Lake, and the creation of 30 acres of newly publicly accessible green space in the form of an ecological park, a reduction in nutrient loading to East Auburn Lake, and the treatment of stormwater runoff from downtown Victoria, a 25% reduction in nutrient concentrations at the outlet of Halsted Bay, and leveraging over $1.2 million in state funding. Now therefore be it resolved that the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District Board of Managers hereby expresses its deep gratitude and appreciation for the service of Commissioner Maluchnik and wishes him the very best of happiness, health, and well-being in all his future pursuits. Adopted on January 14, 2021. I'll start then. You have always been willing to meet with us. You've attended our events. You have been, very forward, very the front row when we've needed assistance. And I know that there's so much more to say, but I appreciate that part certainly. Manager Olson, I bet you'd like to say something.
I sure would.
Okay.
10 years ago, when I was invited to go from the LMCD to the MCWD, representing Carver County, very early on after my appointment, I sat down at a coffee shop with Randy, and he says, so what are you going to accomplish? And I said, well, right now there's a conflict between the city of Victoria, St. Bonnie, and Minnetrista, and even possibly Mound, but not sure. And we're not getting along very well. And we've got to get the communication and because I think everybody is going for the same thing, but we're at loggerheads with each other. And he says, okay, the best thing you can do is start talking watershed, publish what you're doing in the local newspaper, make sure you communicate, because if you don't get everybody together, and if you don't get everybody rowing in the same direction, you're not going to accomplish anything. I was sitting there thinking, okay, so I took his advice, and then Randy guided us as we brought the city management people together with our staff over and over and over again, to the point where we were rowing in the same direction. And I will always be grateful for that original piece of advice that just said, you're probably right. You probably all want the same thing, but you got to team up and you got to get unified. And that was the best thing that ever happened to us. So thank you, Randy.
You're welcome.
And then I've been working for you ever since.
Best damn employee I ever had, and the price is right. I just, I hate for these things to go on and on and on, and because you folks are certainly public servants and also paid the right amount of money. I'll tell you, my first, I don't want to go back, first contact with Minnehaha was in 1973 as a congressional staffer with Congressman Mingy. You folks and what Bill talked about, we talked about, and it always seemed to be a problem, and I always say Carver County and venture to say my good friends in Hennepin County, sometimes we can be champions of silos. And that's kind of what was going on and Bill referred to. And we really wanted to accomplish the same things. I think just folks were a little bit, I don't know if you want to say suspicious or whatever. And, but after, I have to say, after 28 years of public service, 11 with election certificate, this organization certainly is one of the ones that I'm most proud to be associated with, because you guys don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk, and you're true practitioners and true advocates, and you accomplish things. And I don't know, I suppose there could be a couple books written about the 6 Mile Creek project and to talk about the collaboration between all the different government units and nonprofits, and the whole arena could be, it could be a class at the Humphrey Institute, I can tell you that, to explain on how all this stuff gets done. And I know that we still might have one more problem child out there, Bill, and maybe this isn't the place to talk about it, but I've got a feeling that that's going to be resolved too. So, and Bill was right. We weren't telling our story before, and there's lots of reasons. Sometimes the approach, there was political problems or ideology problems, but if people understand, we just want the world to be a little bit better, and you guys can make it so with what you do and how you do it. I don't see where there's a loser in that. Thank for all you do for educating the youth. And I always hear good things about you folks in doing that. And I know I'm very proud of, like I said, 6 Mile Creek project and what's going on at Lake Wasserman. Talk about a collaboration there that's just makes so much sense. And I guess you're going to have a little event there in April. Am I right, Bill, on that or whatever? But I sure would like to attend that just to kind of just reflect on the work that was done there by folks, and will continue to go on for some time. So, well, all right, that's enough from an old retired politician who's going to go on to probably hopefully enjoy retirement, although my friends keep bothering me, so I don't know what's going to end up there. But James, I may have to come out there and sell you something, so we'll see how that meeting goes. I don't know.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, well, it's all clean energy stuff. I don't know what that's going to happen, but we can talk about that some other time. Folks, thank you very much. I think that there's folks that are far more deserving than I of this recognition by you folks, but thank you for thinking of me.
Well, thank you. Sherry, I don't know if there are other board members that wanted to say anything, but I've got a few words, and then we can wish Randy a good evening.
Is there anyone else who would like to add anything before I recognize Mr. Lister? You have the floor.
Well, I'd like to thank Commissioner Malushnik on behalf of the organization. I think the resolution kind of said it all and captured all he's done for the watershed district, and Bill did a great job too. But just for his support and advocacy over the years for the watershed district's work, he's really, I think, just in the couple minutes we've just heard about, helped connect the district to the community and always provided much needed context for our work. And like the resolution said, and I've sat in a lot of those meetings, he's given us wise counsel. I've always appreciated personally the time he took to help not just us, but me navigate, and have valued his leadership in bringing everybody together to accomplish a common goal. And like he said, leave the world a little bit better than we found it. So on behalf of Minnehaha Creek Watershed District, thank you, Randy. To show our thanks, in addition to the resolution, we did get you this wooden plaque that has the topographic relief of Minnehaha Creek Watershed District on it. So you know, or you should know by now, a watershed is a common area of land that all drains to one point, and this plaque shows the rise and fall of the landscape. And there's an engraving on the back that expresses our deep gratitude for your service at the county and your partnership with us. And this and a certificate of the resolution will be mailed out to you in the near future. So thank you again on behalf of everybody.
Well, thank you. I see Sherry.
No, I was applauding. Go ahead. No,
Well,
please do.
well, there's no reason. You don't need to warm your hands.
Okay.
Just keep on doing the work you're doing, okay? And keep going through forward and slaying those dragons for us out here, okay? And if you do that, you'll just make me and my family very happy. So thank you, folks, for all that.
You're welcome. We'll put you on that invite list for the groundbreaking in the spring.
I would love to
Absolutely.
be there. I really would, because some folks said we never get that done, right, Bill? Or that you would never get that done. Yeah. So you proved them wrong. So the naysayers. So congratulations
beautiful
on that.
place.
So
Thank you so much.
thank
for
you, folks.
everything.
Take care now. You
We'll
bet.
see you soon.
Yep.
Thank you, Randy.
Madam President,
Yes.
I
Oh,
think it's,
Mr. Smith?
yes, I think maybe it'd be good to just have a motion to adopt the resolution.
We already did
We did at a previous
in
meeting.
January.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, it was
I
so long
apologize.
ago that we've forgotten, right? No, I
Yeah,
have
I
a
did.
signed copy.
Thank you.
But thank you for the reminder in case we would have needed it. We'll move to item 11.1, which is the resolution 21015, confirmation of the select developer list for the engagement 325 Lake Road Restoration and Redevelopment Project. And I see that we have Ms. Ann Boyk in the meeting from the Lake Road Coalition. So welcome to you. And I'll recognize Mr. Heyman.
Can everyone see my screen and hear me clearly?
Yes.
Your voice is a little bit choppy, Mike. We'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, let me know if it continues, please. Well, good evening, Madam Chair and managers. We are here before you this evening with the next step in the 325 Lake Road restoration and redevelopment process. For your consideration this evening is Resolution 21015, which is confirmation of the select developer list for engagement in the 325 Blake Road Restoration and Redevelopment Project. The list of development firms before you this evening is developed based on interest and experience expressed in letters of interest that were provided by each of the developers. I like to think of this step in the process as a formalized way of getting interested and capable development firms into detailed partnership conversations with the district and the city. So to briefly describe the structure of this evening's presentation, I'll first walk through the formal request for letters of interest and the overarching process for review. I'll then detail the developer responses that we received, followed by a recap of the staff coordination team's review and the joint liaison group review, and finally close with next steps in the process. The board will recall that shortly before the end of 2020, the joint liaison group made a recommendation to the board of a positive finding regarding the dynamic evaluation process. The board reviewed that recommendation at its December 17th, 2020 meeting and agreed in that favorable determination, noting that the goal of the dynamic evaluation process had been satisfied. That determination essentially signified that the partners were well aligned on vision and the financial viability of the site, and determined that the process should proceed with developer engagement. And as such, on January 8th, the request for letters of interest was made publicly available. The release included direct invitation to a list of development firms that had previously been identified as potentially strong development partners by the staff coordination team and its key development advisors. The request was also distributed to an additional 90+ development firms throughout the region and nationally and the information was also posted on our website. Following that, the Minneapolis-St. Paul Business Journal picked up the request and did run an article on the opportunity, which also generated a lot of buzz in the development community and resulted in quite a few inquiries. So sum total, we know the request reached somewhere around 100 or more development firms. Responses to the LOI were due on January 29th. I'll cover those details shortly as we get into some of the staff coordination and joint liaison group review. The request for letters of interest focused it was very focused, and highlighted the background of the site for developers. It described the development opportunity in great detail, and then provided the partnership structure and joint vision for the site. The request itself also detailed requirements of the responses. So interested parties were to submit the developer information such as name and primary contact information, but more importantly, developers' relevant experience working on similar developments. Responses were to include elements such as development locations, types of developments, total development costs of developments that they've completed, which is also known as TDC, and we'll cover that in a little bit. Funding sources that had been utilized, the status of particular developments that they were identifying, and any continued financial or operating interest in each. Developers were also asked to submit a list of developments that they'd completed in the last 5 years, over and above those that were described as relevant projects. And for each of those, again, asked to provide similar information, as well as any site plans or elevations they felt would be useful if they so desired. The LOI request also highlighted the engagement process that we would be undertaking, including the next steps as we move towards roundtable meetings and the review process that the partners were committed to. And finally, the guiding principles and the development parameters, which were both key exhibits to the cooperative agreement, they were attached to the LOI request for added information for interested parties. And a brief note on the process before we get into the review of responses. As part of the board packet material this evening, staff provided 2 process documents that have been developed based on the steps outlined in the cooperative agreement. Those 2 documents, which were attachment 2 in the board packet, aim to lay out the overall process that will be taken to select the development partner. And they really provide clarity of roles, facilitation, and what the timing of each of these steps will be. And those documents essentially work in tandem. So the schedule references the corresponding steps in the process. And since they are quote unquote living documents, we'll continue to modify those as needed, and we'll reference those on a regular basis so the partners can continue to track in concert throughout the selection of a development partner. So moving on then to the letter of interest review, the partners received 10 letters of interest. The 10 firms are listed here, as well as identified in the request for board action and in the developer response matrix, which was attachment 1 in the board packet. And all of their letters of interest were also provided to the board separately from the board packet for review. To assist all reviewers throughout the process, the staff coordination team created a developer response matrix, as I previously referenced as attachment 1. And that was really to objectively compile pertinent information that had been taken from each of the 10 responses. You'll note in that matrix that firms are listed alphabetically, and the information in the matrix was compiled as objectively as possible based on the letter of interest solicitation and what had been specifically requested from responding firms and provided in their letters. As I noted earlier, the partners requested a limited amount of information, but it was very specific in need. And again, requesting that each firm identify its relevant experience and include with it the types of development, total development costs, funding source status, and ownership. And that was really to understand how each development firm's experience and role in previous work, particularly carrying complex and potentially transformative projects like 325 Blake Road, would relate to the process we were undergoing and the partner we were looking for. And again, we also did request that each firm provide additional development experience from these last 5 years above and beyond. Those 2 sections are the lion's share of the evaluation. They do provide an objective look at the experience of each of these firms to identify how likely they are to carry a project that is both of this size and complexity, as we've discussed in the past. the final section in the developer matrix, which is listed as qualifications, was based on some of the softer skills necessary to carry the project. And these weren't listed as specific requirements in the developer's response, but we used them to measure how well each firm responded to the goals, the principles, the joint vision, and the background that was provided as part of the request, and to essentially create a differentiator if needed, and better assist the partners in making a determination on which firms were best suited to partner on development. And these evaluation criteria included elements such as experience working with local government, or experience working or securing public funding sources, transit-oriented development experience, experience integrating mixed income development into their sites, what major amenities firms had developed near, knowing that we have Minnehaha Creek and some of the work we're doing, sustainability as a goal in previous developments, innovative water resource experience that they may highlight, and finally, what experience each firm might have with community engagement. And from there, a qualitative recommendation is provided as sort of a summary within that matrix based on the response to the requested information. It's listed as good, average, or incomplete. And so the staff coordination team, including 3 MCWD staff, 2 city staff, and then our key development advisors, Shenandoah for the district and Ellers for the city, individually reviewed and evaluated each of the 10 letters of interest, and then convened to discuss our thoughts and determine if we were closely aligned. The staff collaboration team, staff coordination team, reached near immediate consensus on select firms recommended to move forward based on their detailed responses to the request. And that is really to say the 5 recommended firms from the staff team each provided all of the requested information, the experience that each firm demonstrated, both in relevant projects and recent work, and their ability to articulate experience beyond that was beyond the strictly requested information was all considered. And as such, the staff coordination team recommended 5 firms for advancement to the joint liaison group. Those firms were Alatus, Greco, Schaefer Richardson, Sherman Associates, and Wellington Management. Following the staff review, the 10 letters of interest, the developer response matrix, and the staff coordination team's recommendation were provided to the joint liaison group for its review and consideration. Similar to the staff coordination team, the liaisons were provided a period of time to review individually prior to convening for discussion. On February 11th, that liaison group convened to discuss its review and evaluation of responses, as well as the staff's recommendation. And at the meeting, staff and our advisors facilitated a presentation of all the materials, and the joint liaison group discussed those responses, had the opportunity to ask questions of our key development advisors, and ultimately concurred that the staff coordination team's recommendation represented a list of development firms best positioned to achieve a successful development partnership based on the information requested. So this evening, the joint liaison group recommendation being presented to the Board of Managers for advancement into roundtable meetings includes these 5 firms: Alatus, Greco, Schaefer Richardson, Sherman Associates, and Wellington Management. To briefly touch on schedule, should the board concur in the recommendation, the next steps in the engagement process are highlighted here. Development firms are notified immediately of the outcome. So we do have letters prepared for development firms that would not be advanced, as well as invitations to roundtable meetings and a developer information packet for selected firms. And the information packet is really to provide each firm with a detailed understanding of the site in advance of those roundtable meetings and give them a period of time to review all of that, because it is a pretty robust suite of material. It includes everything from local community information to transportation networks, job centers, background information, and the history of the Minnehaha Creek Greenway, our stormwater infrastructure project, past environmental and geotechnical information. So it's quite a package of information for developers to review in advance of those roundtable meetings. We'll then host roundtable meetings on March 8th and 9th. We're aiming to have all of the meetings actually on March 9th, which is a Tuesday, but we have secured the backup date of the 8th in the event that doesn't work for some firms. And following those meetings, then the formal RFP process will begin, which would lead us through a series of steps from proposals to interviews, tours, and finally a partner selection. And to, pull up this graphic one more time, I'm sure you're becoming familiar with it. It does seem to do a really nice job of demonstrating the relationship between the two efforts that are underway. This evening, we're really potentially advancing the select developer list for roundtable meetings. At the same time, our design team continues to work through listening sessions with planned sessions tomorrow with the district staff and advisor team, next week with the city staff group, and then on March 16th with city council. And then the community listening session is also being scheduled for late March, which is represented by the blue star here near the listening sessions. So as those are occurring, the roundtable meetings with select development teams will also take place, and our design team will continue to gather input and frame scenario planning, with those roundtable meetings playing a significant role in their understanding of what the development community really envisions for the site. So those roundtable meetings truly setting up some of the scenario planning for the design team as we move forward with the conversations with select development firms. So in conclusion, this evening, before you is Resolution 2115, confirmation of the select developer list for engagement in the 325 Blake Road Restoration and Redevelopment Project. Thank you, and I will turn the discussion back to you, Madam Chair, and we'll gladly answer any questions that the board may have this evening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Heeman. First, is there a motion to adopt Resolution 2115?
Maxwell moves.
Thank you, Manager Maxwell. Is there a second?
Heshmati second.
Thank you, Manager Hejmati. Are there questions for Mr. Heeman or comments on the presentation?
Maybe Maxwell has one question. Mike, did the 5 been notified so far that they're on the list that we're down from 10 to 5? Or 5 to 10?
Manager Maxwell, no one has been notified, though the information is public as it was published in our packet on Monday, and we have heard from 1 or 2 firms that they recognize that it was up for board consideration this evening, but there has not been formal notification.
And was there excitement from the 2 that you notified? I mean, I just trying to get a sense of enthusiasm for it.
Yeah, they actually reached out to Chuck Lutz, our development advisor, and it said, "Oh, it's great. We see we've made it on the short list." And he notified them that isn't affirmed yet, but that is the direction we're going. But they sounded quite excited.
All right, thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Heeman?
President White, this is Manager Loftus. I've got
Go
a
ahead.
question.
Ask your question.
Mr. Heeman, and I guess the review committee too, the section on the matrix, section 4, where you talk about qualifications, and you note that it wasn't listed as a submittal requirement. I would like to know how much weight you put on that section in your ultimate recommendations, given it wasn't a formal requirement. I don't want to see people penalized, but if it was just additional information, whether you'd have the same recommendations with or without that qualification section, given it wasn't a requirement.
Manager Loftus, managers, I can certainly answer that on behalf of the staff coordination team. And if managers Maxwell, White, or Heshmati have additional insights, certainly provide them. From the staff coordination team, it was just supplementary information. So the recommendation was based on the first 2. So I suppose in the matrix, they were sections 2 and 3. Those were the required elements of the request for letters of interest, which was to describe experience and provide a variety of information to total development costs, locations, ownership share, et cetera, for those developments. The section 4 that you referenced really was not only supplementary, but we wanted to have that captured in the event that we weren't at a consensus or we did not agree, and we wanted to reach out to development firms for additional information. So we wanted to highlight if they did have experience with mixed income development, for instance, or near amenities, but it wasn't a deciding factor or the deciding criteria in the the recommended firms that we had requested to move forward as a staff coordination team.
Manager Maxwell, would you like to offer your thoughts?
No, Mike did a great job on it, just explaining why it was picked and how we went about it.
Manager Loftus, I actually asked myself that question as I was looking at the materials and decided that the extra material did not change how I would rank them.
Okay, good. That's what I wanted to hear. Just wanted to make sure we weren't, picking some information and not requesting it from everyone, or doing a little bit of research and not doing the same due diligence for everybody. And it sounds like it wasn't a decision criteria for the group. So thank you for clarifying.
Maybe I can just add a couple of things.
Question.
I did talk
Yes.
to a couple of developers before we got down that list and asked him what he thought their capabilities were. And that's kind of brought some of my thought process into it.
Is there anything else before we go to voting? Then to adopt resolution 2115, Manager Hejmati,
Aye.
Manager Loftus,
Aye.
Manager Maxwell,
Aye.
Manager Miller, Manager Olson,
Aye.
and Manager Rognus is not here. Manager White votes aye. Manager Miller, did you want to weigh in? I see you're muted there. Okay. The resolution is adopted. Thank you, everyone, for your work on it.
I had a comment to make, and I can't get this thing to work. Am I on or not?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
I don't know what happened here, but I haven't been able to say anything. I'm very impressed with the group that's picked. Several of four of them I've known for over 40 years, and in various capacities in public finance or nonprofit work or chairman of the Housing Finance Agency or whatever. And I think all of them are extremely capable. All of them have the experience, and all of them are owner operated. They're not. They're very, very capable, and I'm really pleased with the outcome so far. And it's only going to be to our management skills to get what we want out of them, because they're all capable of doing whatever the market will permit. So I just wanted to. I wanted to be registered as voting aye now that I'm on here. And,
Okay, great.
Make those comments. So thank you.
Thank you. It just occurred to me that with Manager Rognus absent, we probably should have a Secretary Pro Tem to sign tonight's resolutions, or but they won't be signed tonight, I suppose. Yeah. So we can wait. I see you nodding. Thank you, Mr. Smith. I beg your pardon?
Madam President, I think it would be a good idea to name a Secretary Pro Tem.
Okay.
Okay. I would nominate Manager Maxwell as Secretary Pro Tem, or move that he would be appointed. Is there a second?
Second.
So moved.
Manager Miller seconds. Voting on that, Manager White votes aye. Manager Rognus. Manager Olson. I keep forgetting. Manager Miller.
Aye.
Manager Maxwell.
Vote for myself.
You can do that. It's okay.
All right. Aye.
Manager Loftus.
Aye.
Manager Hejmati.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. And that, thank you, Manager Maxwell, for not declining the nomination. The next item of business we have is item 11.2, which is the matter concerning Wenk and Stantec. Mr. Whisker.
Just need to find my mute button. Yes, President White, managers, I think this one can be kept fairly brief. As you know, In December of 2019, the board selected Wenk to be our engineer of record. And we have an executed engineering services agreement with Wenk that terminates December 31st of this year, 2021. But as you've been informed late last year by Mr. Meehan, Wenk has been acquired and is merging with Stantec. And so the resolution in the packet tonight would approve the assignment of all Wenk engineering services agreements, the master agreement, and any subsidiary contracts or short form work orders over to Stantec. And it would authorize the administrator on advice of council to execute approval of that assignment.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt, a motion to approve the assignment of the agreement to assign the engineering services?
So moved, Loftus.
I'll take a motion from Manager Hajmati and a second from Manager Loftus. Any comments or thoughts? We've already asked Mr. Meehan if he stays, and he said yes, so.
You're right.
All right, then.
They're going to make me work, that's for sure.
Voting on the approval of assigning the agreement, Manager White votes aye. Manager Loftus?
Aye.
Manager Maxwell?
Aye.
Manager Miller?
Aye.
Manager Olson?
Aye.
Manager Hajmati?
Aye.
Thank you. We have approved that matter.